Welcome to the NC DWI Guy podcast, where defenders of the Constitution assemble to prepare for courtroom battle and firm owners gather to develop marketing strategies that will revolutionize the practice of criminal defense. Here's your host, the NC DWI Guy, Jake Minick.
Before we dive into today's episode of the podcast, I wanted to let you know that coming up in June, we are going to be doing a special 5-part series on the podcast on attacking the results of breath testing. Really, to begin with, we're going to spend a couple of episodes talking with toxicology expert Andy Ewens from Ewens Toxicology. He is an expert on toxicology. He's going to help us understand the science behind breath testing and get a better understanding of the science specifically utilized kind of in the framework of the ECIR2 device. We are then going to follow up with several incredible attorneys, James Nisi, Matthew Davenport, and Stephen Lindsay, to talk about different kind of methods of understanding the science behind breath testing, as well as how to effectively attack this start to finish on your case. So James Nisi, we're going to talk about a couple of different ways of using kind of the math that is used in breath testing to actually convey to the jury what's going on and why this is important in your particular case. With Matthew Davenport, we're going to talk about State versus Neyron, State versus Simmons, and kind of what does it mean, this language presume impaired, and some of the implications on that. And then finally, we will close out the 5-part series with Steve Lindsay giving us some helpful information on attacking the breath testing device in closing arguments. So I just wanted to put that on your radar. It's going to be a really fun and I think informational series coming up in June. So make sure that you tune into that. And with that, we'll go ahead and dive into today's episode. Hello, fellow freedom fighters, and welcome to episode 57 of the NC DWI Guy podcast. Today on the podcast, we are talking about ways to improve your business, ways to improve your marketing. This is the focus of what we are going to be working on. In episode 53, I gave 10 ways to improve your knowledge as a DWI lawyer. So 10 kind of DWI practice area specific improvement ideas. Today, we're talking about 10 ways to improve your marketing and business acumen. So got a lot of exciting things to cover now. There is a million different ways to improve your marketing. There's a million different ways. Our theme at the office for this quarter is the infinite game of business. And everybody at the office got a copy, as I'm holding up, of Simon Sinek's The Infinite Game. Great read if you have not read that book. It is a really powerful way of thinking about the game of business that we are playing. Why is this an infinite versus a finite game? So watch Simon Sinek's YouTube video on the infinite game, read this book, but there's a billion different ways to improve yourself as a business. And so the ways that I'm going to talk about today are very personal ways that I have improved my own marketing practice. The 10 suggestions that I'm going to make are really kind of specific to me. Things that I have grabbed onto, gravitated towards, that have improved the legal business here at my office. there's also so many different ways that we can improve our business and our marketing. So just some of the things that we're going to talk about today are improving your mindset. So taking classes or attending conferences on business, reading books about business, listening to podcasts about business. There are also practical ways that we can improve our business knowledge in the real world. And so we're going to kind of talk about a combination of these different things. I have a bunch of resources to throw at you. So without further ado, let's dive in and get better at our business, bring a better game to our customers, our clients. So, number one, this is a self-serving promo. Self-serving promo. Number one, I did a 7-part series on how to start and build a law practice back in 2017. So if you look up how to start and build a law practice, James Minick or Minick Law, this is going to come up at the top of the results. I will include a link in the show notes, but this is kind of walking through some of the pieces that I have found to be really helpful in creating the culture and client customer service that we are trying to achieve at Minick Law. So it's a 7-part series. The videos are about 7 to 15 minutes, depending on the video. So a really great place to start if you're trying to kind of get a little bit of a deeper dive into what we're talking about today and to kind of get an idea of how we've implemented some of these ideas here at the office. So how to start and build a law practice. So in terms of number 2, this is a real practical way to improve at business. Watch businesses that are really focused on building a great culture and a great client experience. Law firms generally tend to kind of stink at customer service and at the culture that exists within their office. So if you want to grow a better business, if you want to build a better business, you need to look at the best businesses. And there are some law firms that really excel in their kind of own culture and the employment environment that they have created, as well as how they're delivering their service to clients. But on the whole, the ones that we interact with day to day would not be, in my estimation, the highest level of customer service. So what are great companies doing to create an amazing client experience, to create an amazing culture? Chick-fil-A at our office gets a ton of love, and it has for the last decade, in terms of how to deliver an exceptional client experience, how to deliver the highest level of a customer experience. Everywhere you go, you can see things that businesses are doing well and things that are places where businesses are failing. If you go to a hotel, if you go to a restaurant, if you go through a fast food place, if you're mailing a box to a loved one, everywhere you go, you're interacting with businesses, and you can take away from those businesses things that you really find to be memorable and things that you're like, man, I really should avoid that. That was a terrible experience. I think so often we have a terrible customer experience, and instead of kind of internalizing that and saying, you know, man, what is the learning point here? We just complain about it. Or we, on the flip side, we have a great customer service experience with a business that we just kind of want to, you know, shout from the rooftops, but we don't internalize and say, well, man, how can I deliver that level of service at my office, at my legal business. The best companies to emulate are not legal businesses. They're not law practices. Look at tech companies. Look at the best customer service companies, the restaurant industry, the hotel industry. Look at the service industry. Look at different banks that you may have interacted with in the past and how they have kind of treated you differently, how they have talked with you differently. This is a really good example of kind of where the rubber meets the road on this specific issue. When I first opened my practice, I was personally banking with State Employees Credit Union. That's where our personal account was with. My wife had an account there when I had met her, and so I was able to get a joint checking account with her at State Employees, and I banked there, with her for many years. Then with my business, because I could not have a business account at the State Employees Credit Union, I went to a local community bank here in Asheville, Home Trust Bank. And the difference in customer experience between those two banks was literally night and day. In State Employees Credit Union, the people that were working there looked like they were just counting down literally the milliseconds until 5 o'clock came around. They did not want to be there, and they weren't afraid to show you that. Now, maybe not every State Employees Credit Union branch is like this, but the one that I banked at routinely, every person that worked in that State Employees Credit Union looked like they were just dying at work. On the flip side, at Home Trust Bank, everybody looked like they were having a good time with one another. They were talking to one another, smiling at one another. They greeted me by name every time I went into that bank. Now, this obviously didn't happen the first time, but after about 3 times of going into Home Trust, there was 4 different tellers that all knew me by name. And they would talk to me, and they would ask me something about my day. I would talk with these tellers about my kids, about my law firm. They would ask all kinds of questions, and you could tell that they were genuinely interested. So part of their culture at Home Trust was, we need to get people to trust us. We want people to bank with us for a long time. We've got to treat them like friends. And they put that into their culture, and it was lived out in their culture. It was not one person. When I went into Home Trust, they had cookies that were freshly baked, hot sometimes, coming out of an oven. I don't even know where they had an oven in this bank. I mean, this is literally a bank. I don't know where the cookie oven is or how they decided we're going to put a cookie oven into the bank, but they had hot cookies. They had great coffee. I literally went in there sometimes just to get a cookie, but that they didn't care. They would regularly have customer appreciation days where they would have like an ice cream freezer there that you could pick out different kinds of ice cream. They had sodas. They had all kinds of stuff that they would regularly do to try to earn that relationship. When I tried to get a loan for my first home, I went to State Employees Credit Union first. And I sat down with the person. They looked at me and said, "Do you have 3 years of tax returns?" And I said, "No, I just started my business a year ago." And they said, "Sorry, we can't help. We need 3 years of tax returns." So I thought that everybody was going to operate like that. Went over to Home Trust, and they basically said, "Well, hey, tell us about your business. What are you doing? Can you get us a P&L statement for last year? We'll take a look at that." And literally within about 24 hours, they had written me a letter stating that I had, funds that would be able to be used to purchase that home. They wrote me a letter that they would provide funding. And it's just incredible. Again, these two banks are in the same industry, right? But they are like night and day when compared to one another. So look at businesses and see what is each business doing well that we can emulate, so that we can incorporate those ideas into our own practice, into our own strategy. Number three, I'm going to give a little bit of a book as well as a little bit of a story. Michael Gerber's EMyth was a game-changing book in my life. Maybe outside of the Bible, not maybe, definitely outside of the Bible. The Bible is on a completely different shelf, but outside of the Bible, the EMyth has probably had the most influence in my life of any single book. I read this book about a year after I had opened my own practice. I opened my own practice in November of 2010, and the following summer in August, I was on a beach trip with my family and my brother-in-law, Mike. He picked up the EMyth off of the shelf in the beach house that we were renting, and he said, you know what, I bet you'd really like reading this book. So I thought, okay, what the heck? I'll give it a go, having a great time at the beach. So I opened up the book and started reading. And within about 2 chapters, I was literally just captivated with the principles that Michael Gerber was talking about in the EMyth. It was just a completely new way of conceptualizing what I was doing on a daily basis, how my practice was operating. I never looked at my business the same way again. I never looked at my law practice as a just this kind of removed profession. It was something that I could tinker with. My practice was a business, an organism that I could tinker with and improve to deliver a higher product. And systems are very much important in Michael Gerber's framework. Systems are critical to how a business operates. And it started me thinking about ways that I could improve the systems and processes at the office to deliver a new level of service. I've never really turned back from that kind of mindset of how to look at my business. And if you have not read the EMyth and you own your own firm, that should be the number one read from a business side of things that you read next. If you're in the middle of a business book, close it, stop it, get a copy of the EMyth and read the EMyth, and then go back to what you're reading before. This is the book that changes how you think about your business, how you think about your organization. And after reading that book, I came back, I sat down with my brother who was doing marketing for me at the time. I sat down with my only employee, Henry Padilla, and I basically said, this is going to change how we practice law. And slowly over the course of a decade now, that book has really pushed our firm through many improving iterations of what existed at the time that I read that book. It's the same name that existed at the time in terms of the name of the firm. Actually, I think it was Law Offices of James Minick at that time. Now it's Minick Law. But within a couple of years, we had kind of incorporated and changed the name. But at this point, the name is maybe the only similarity. Everything else has improved because of thinking about how to be working on the business instead of in it, as Gerber likes to say. To me, any book that you can get $1 million idea from is worth reading. So that's what I'm looking for when I read a book. If it's a 200, 300 page book, there might be 199 pages of those 200 pages that are kind of completely crap. I didn't, it didn't improve anything. It wasn't, something that I hadn't heard before. But if there's one page in there that presents $1 million idea, then it's worth reading. I'm looking at books for a way to find $1 million ideas. And the EMyth is full of $1 million ideas. So look at the EMyth as a reference point for how to improve your business. All right, so point number 4, figure out how to tell your story. One of the things that we did at the office about 5 years ago is we hired a company out of Atlanta, Crisp Video Group, that did a brand video for us. And they were able to tell the story of what we do at the office in a completely new and profound way. Just a completely new and profound way. You have to find a way to tell your story to your clients, to your team, employees, your community, and they were able to do that. And that relationship with Crisp translated into basically following everything that they were putting out. Michael Mogul, who is the CEO of Crisp Video, has grown his business monumentally. If you want a great business to look at and emulate, look at Crisp Video and what Michael Mogul is doing over there. I believe that on our next episode, episode 58, we're going to actually have Michael on as a guest. Going to be a podcast worth listening to. So make sure that you tune in to hear from the man himself. But one of the things that Crisp Video has done incredibly well is to basically help law firms improve their culture. So after this idea of storytelling and how do you kind of tell your story to your clients, they really started going to work on how do we improve law firms, and their goal is to improve 1,000 law firms by $1 million each. That's their goal. So they're in the business of trying to get their clients, which are law firms, to do better. And in that process, they've developed an amazing coaching program. I was involved in their coaching program for a year. It was an incredible experience. I would highly recommend the coaching program. They have put on an incredible conference twice now. The third, what they call Game Changer Summit, is coming up in November, but it is literally like the Tony Robbins experience for lawyers. We go all the time to these CLE conferences where we learn about how we can improve our practice areas. And that's important. Not only is it mandated by the bar, but it's just absolutely important to become an expert at what you're doing. But we should also be attending conferences on how we can improve our mindset, how we can improve our marketing, how we can improve our business strategies. We have to put that same effort into how are we building our practice. And so Crisp has 2 upcoming opportunities. One is their online virtual summit, June 24th and 25th, the Crisp Evolve Summit. So go to Crisp Evolve, look that up, search for that. You'll find that conference going on June 24th, 25th. It's going to be incredible. The lineup of speakers is on the website, but in the past they've had George Foreman's son on, who's also got an incredible story. They've had Gary Vee. They've had Mark Lanier, David Goggins, Navy SEAL David Goggins. They've had Hal Elrod, who is the author of The Miracle Morning. They've had Cy Wakeman on, Malcolm Gladwell, John Maxwell, Gary, like I said, Gary Vee. So just incredible speakers at their past conferences, and they've got an incredible lineup of speakers ready to go for the Evolve Summit. They also, like I said, in November have their Game Changer Summit from November the 5th and 6th. This is a summit that is going to take place in Atlanta. So it's an in-person, not virtual experience like the Evolve Summit, but it is literally the most amazing conference that I have been to in my time as an attorney. Just an incredible experience to go to the Game Changer Summit. So make sure that you, sign up for those. If you have the opportunity, you will not be disappointed. Incredible value that comes out of these conferences, and incredibly entertaining as well. We are planning on taking the entire team So 12, 13 people down to the Atlanta Game Changer Summit. We're all signed up for the Evolve Summit. So we are believers and excited to do this. Wouldn't be recommending it if I didn't believe in it. Again, they also, as I'm holding my binder here, have an amazing coaching program. So they do regular workshops in that coaching program. And again, recommend anything that Chris video is involved on in terms of helping attorneys improve their practice. So number 5 is the Rainmaker Retreat. So again, all of these things that I'm recommending have been things that I've been involved in the past. Pretty soon after I opened up my own office, hung my own shingle, I found the Rainmaker Retreat website and ordered a copy of their Rainmaker in a Box series. This is a DVD series that is based on the retreats that they do live. Incredible value and content in the Rainmaker Retreat sessions on how to basically achieve expert status as an attorney, create a unique and competitive advantage, and then basically improve the client experience. They talk about lead conversion. They talk about strategic referral-based law practice, which was a really powerful kind of point that they made. They talk about social media. They talk about, kind of having a specific marketing action plan. So it's an incredibly power-packed experience to do a Rainmaker Retreat. Again, I did mine by video years ago, but they do these things live, and in particular this year on June the 25th and 26th, which again somewhat conflicts with that crisp date. So you have to pick your battle here in terms of where you're going to spend your time. But they are going to be in Charlotte, and they go all over the country. I believe they're based out of Arizona, the Rainmaker Retreat. So if you go to rainmakerretreat.com, you'll see that they have the Charlotte as their next location that they're doing a live Rainmaker Retreat. This was delayed. It was supposed to occur last year because of COVID. It got pushed out. And so June 25th and 26th, you can attend the Rainmaker Retreat in person and take your marketing to a new level. Again, another way to improve your marketing. So this is going to be point number 6, is to improve your mindset. So listening to podcasts. I listen to a whole number of different kind of mindset, business, marketing podcasts, and at different points in the past, I've listened to the Jocko podcast. As you can see my sign behind me, Discipline Equals Freedom. I'm a huge Jocko supporter. Have read a number of his books. Love Extreme Ownership. If you're looking for a great mindset to kind of bring yourself into your culture, Extreme Ownership is a great read by Jocko Willink. Listen to the Life Coach School by Brooke Castillo. She's got some incredible things to talk about in terms of business and mindset. The John Maxwell Leadership Podcast has always got tremendous energy. It's really entertaining in terms of how they do the John Maxwell podcast. Jody Moore has a podcast about how to kind of conceptualize what appear to be problems in your environment and how to basically kind of give yourself new thoughts that kind of change the way that you look at the world and the problems that you face. Listened to many episodes of the Gary V audio experience. So Gary Vaynerchuk's podcast on marketing. And again, he's always brings incredible energy, incredible entertainment, but find podcasts that you can listen to in your car, going from one place to the next, to really improve your mindset, improve the way that you do your life. Because if you can improve who you are, then you can improve your business. Your business is not going to get better than you, right? As the leader, the face of the firm, it's not going to get any better than you. So you have to figure out ways to constantly be upping your own game and taking your own mindset to a new level to grow yourself as a person, as a human being, so that you can grow your firm along with that. Number 7. So number 6 was kind of life podcasts. Number 7 is legal podcasts. Listen to legal podcasts that are specific to growing your own firm. So going back to Michael Mogul, going back to Chris Video, the Game Changing Attorney podcast is an amazing podcast. And it brings in, Michael always has a different guest on the podcast, incredible value on that podcast in terms of just thought leaders in the legal industry and beyond coming in to talk about how to grow your legal marketing, improve your legal business. Your Law Firm with Lee Rosen, who is a North Carolina attorney that now travels the world, but has a podcast. He used to be a family law attorney, I think based out of either Charlotte or Raleigh, but have listened to many, many episodes of Lee Rosen's podcast. He has very short, but extremely thoughtful podcast episodes. He really does a good job of creating his content in a very intentional and thoughtful way. So great content on his end. And then another good one that I've listened to many episodes is The Unconventional Attorney with Christopher Small. Christopher Small runs an estate planning practice and has gone to great lengths to look at how to run the most efficient legal business, how to kill it on social media, how to kill it on content, and how to create an amazing customer experience that is automated. So if you are looking for somebody that can really break down the practice of law in a very systematic way, Christopher Small, The Unconventional Attorney, is a great way to do that. He also has, I think, a coaching program, the Inner Circle, I believe. So he offers coaching as well. And again, I've really enjoyed listening to his podcast episodes for a number of years. Number 8, again, just going back to personal experience, I got turned on to a fellow by the name of Jeffrey Gitomer, who is known as the King of Sales. And this was kind of at the same time, shortly after the EMyth book. And it really, again, made me realize we are a business. This is something that we are not, basically just able to kind of sit quietly and hope that customers will come in and talk to, clients will come in and talk to us. You have to basically be in sales if you're going to be a business. And so 2 books that I would highly recommend. Jeffrey Gitomer, I've read a number of his books, listened to his podcast. There's incredible content on his website, but 2 books in particular that have stood out to me are his Little Red Book of Selling, which I'm holding, as well as his Customer Satisfaction is Worthless, Customer Loyalty is Priceless. And both of these books, again, if I can find a book that I can get $1 million idea out of, then to me it's absolutely worth reading that book, even if it's 99% not helpful. That 1% helpful element is worth it. But the Little Red Book of Selling is just every page you could highlight. You could almost highlight like top to bottom every single page of that. It's entertaining. It's written in a very funny way. It's got a lot of pictures. You could read the Little Red Book of Selling in an hour and a half if you sat down and read it. It is very engaging, easy to read. He talks like he speaks, so you can listen to it on an audio book, and it's probably better almost that way because you're getting kind of the emphasis that he's adding. I've read some of his books in writing, listened to some of his books audio. Some of his books I've done in both platforms, but incredible content. And in the Customer Loyalty is Everything book, there's really this mindset of don't compete on value, or I'm sorry, don't compete on price, compete on value. That's kind of maybe the core nugget of what he's expressing in that book. But it is such a different way of thinking about your law firm. Jeffrey Gitomer is based out of Charlotte. He does conferences and trainings and that type of thing as well. So a great person to look at, think through, and listen to. Number 9, Vern Harnish. Just read this book during the beginning of COVID, Scaling Up. So I read this book with my 2 partners, Lance Williams and Gint Krilikis. We read this book together, and Scaling Up is really a helpful book if you're kind of trying to grow your practice beyond just a couple of team members. If you're trying to kind of take your practice to the next level of employees, to the next level of kind of how you're operating, it really is about kind of growing your business in a pretty massive way, and how to kind of conceptualize some of the difficulties, some of the growing pains that you're going to have to deal with as you go from 3 employees to 20. Some of these steps, it becomes easier as you grow, but others you really have to be able to think through, how am I going to improve? So we have used their Rockefeller Habits at the office, Vern Harnish's Rockefeller Habits. He has a great newsletter. We're planning on attending one of his virtual conferences here in the next few months. So I've really been impressed with the content that he puts out there, and it's a very user-friendly book. It's kind of like the Scaling Up book. It's kind of like a textbook on how to grow your business, but at the same time, he incorporates a ton of stories, real-life examples of how to kind of see these pressure points in action, how to see these growing pains in action, these frustration points of growth, and what to do about them with very practical guidelines. So if you're kind of at a point where you're growing, beyond 3, 4, 5 employees, really helpful book in terms of taking your practice to the next level. And then finally, number 10 is the Atticus Group. If you go to Atticus Advantage, that's ATTICUS advantage.com. You'll find the information on Atticus. They have a ton of really powerful content. They do all kinds of trainings. They have a summit in November 11 and 12th of this year in Orlando, Florida. They have their marketing summit for small businesses, for small law firms in Orlando. So if you want to go see Disney World with the family and then go attend an incredible marketing summit, this is for you. But we have used them in a couple of different ways. One way is that we did a retreat a couple of years back, probably about 6-7 years ago now, where we brought a facilitator in. Cami Hauser was the facilitator that helped us from Atticus Group, and she was amazing. Before that, I'd kind of always done my own retreats with the team, kind of planned everything out, arranged speakers. Cami really helped us take our retreat to a whole different level, brought incredible value out of the time that we had together. This was a 2-day retreat in the Asheville area that we did with the team. It was an on-site retreat. We stayed overnight in a small lodge in Asheville, and the facilitation, having a facilitator involved, really allowed me to be more of a participant in the process as opposed to an organizer. So they did a great job with facilitating that. But they also have 2 incredible books that I would strongly recommend to every attorney listening to this podcast. One is How Good Attorneys Become Great Rainmakers. They have, I think, 21 marketing habits that they talk about in here. All kinds of great information, practical, valuable. You can immediately incorporate these ideas into your office. These marketing habits that they are putting out there to develop are just killer in terms of being able to take your marketing game to the next level. And then the other book that Atticus puts out that I would really recommend for anybody that is looking to grow their team is Hire Slow, Fire Fast. And it basically is a guidebook for firms on how to conduct employee evaluation, interview, create a good, strong culture at your office. But it is a really great book on law firm hiring. So both of those books are great resources. You can buy them on their website. You can find them on Amazon as well, but incredible value. So that's it. We've gone through the 10 tips that I have. Again, all of the things that I have recommended, I have used personally. So all of those recommendations come with, I guess you could say the NC DWI Guy guarantee of hopefully you get something out of it. That's as strong as a guarantee as I can give, is that, maybe or maybe not, you get something out of it. But I think that's the attitude that you have to have when it comes to marketing is, maybe I'll be able to kind of improve my business, improve my practice through this thing. But, just constantly searching for that next big idea of how to improve your practice. You just have to be, developing yourself, developing the mindset, the business mindset, the marketing habits to continually be improving your culture at your office and the client experience that you want to deliver in the legal marketplace. Hope this has been helpful, and I look forward to talking with you again next time. Hope you enjoyed today's episode of the podcast. If you did, please share the podcast with another freedom fighter in the criminal defense community, and be sure to leave us a rating on iTunes. See you next time.